You're 37 minutes deep into a late-night scroll at 11 p.m., and the crazy part is you don't even remember why you picked up your phone in the first place. Your morning coffee goes cold because you get distracted 3 different times, and that big idea you were hyped about 6 months ago is still floating somewhere between your brain and a forgotten notes app. This isn't because you're lazy or unmotivated. In fact, your brain is running exactly how it was designed to, just not for the world you're living in. The same wiring that helped your ancestors survive lions is now absolutely nuking your ability to finish a simple task, reply to a text, or start the dream that's been sitting on your heart for months. And the real shocker, you're not stuck because life is hard. You're stuck because no one ever taught you these 4 ridiculously simple habits that fix 98% of the daily problems draining your potential. Habit number 1, claim your first hour. Most people don't realize this, but the moment you check your phone in the morning, you've essentially handed over the steering wheel of your entire day. It sounds dramatic, but it's one of the biggest silent mistakes people make, and the data proves it. Studies show that people who start their day reacting to notifications experience a 27% increase in stress hormones within the first 10 minutes of waking up, which is the same cortisol spike your body would produce if you were suddenly shoved into a stressful meeting. In other words, that tiny just checking something real quick moment flips your brain into survival mode before you've even brushed your teeth. Think of your attention like a fragile snow globe. One shake and the whole thing gets cloudy. So if you wake up and immediately start fighting fires, it's no wonder you feel behind before the day even begins. And honestly, think about the last time you checked your messages first thing in the morning. Half the time you're still squinting, trying to unlock your phone like a cryptic puzzle door from a video game, hoping the screen brightness doesn't permanently blind you. That's not a morning routine, that's chaos with Wi-Fi. Most of us have lived entire months letting the first ping of the day dictate our mood. One moment you wake up feeling fine, and 5 seconds after opening an email, your whole day is tinted with urgency, annoyance, or pressure. It's like giving someone backstage access to your brain without checking their credentials. And the worst part, you don't even notice the cost because it feels normal. But your energy knows, your focus knows, and eventually your confidence knows too. So here's the fix, simple, actionable, and way more powerful than it looks. Own the first hour of your day. Not because mornings are magical or because millionaires on YouTube swear by sunrise journaling, but because it is the only hour where life hasn't started pulling at you yet. Whether you wake up at 5 a.m. or 11 a.m., that first hour belongs to you and no one else. Use it to do one thing, just one, that makes you feel like you've already created momentum. It could be working out, writing a page, planning your day, cleaning your space, reading something meaningful, or finally making that call you've been avoiding for 3 weeks. The activity doesn't matter, the ownership does. That one intentional act proves to your brain that you can make a promise and follow through. And psychologically, that tiny win triggers the same motivation systems athletes feel after a good warm-up. It sets a tone. I run the day. Zoom out, and here's why this single habit is such a game changer. It becomes the foundation for every decision, task, and challenge that comes later. When you start your day proactively instead of reactively, you're no longer playing defense. You're setting strategy, you're choosing your priorities, and you feel noticeably calmer because your brain isn't swimming in everyone else's noise. This is only half the battle. Even with a perfectly claimed morning, most people are still overwhelmed and drained by something even more invisible. Habit number 2, get it out of your head. Most people don't realize this, but your brain forgets about 70% of new information within 24 hours if you don't externalize it. That's not a flaw, it's biology. Yet we walk around treating our brains like some kind of unlimited Google Drive, stuffing in every task, idea, worry, reminder, and half-baked plan. And then we're shocked when we feel mentally overloaded and exhausted before the day has even started. Imagine trying to run your entire life from a bunch of sticky notes plastered to a balloon. That's basically what your brain is doing. It's not built for storage, it's built for processing. And the moment you try to make it do both, it jams up like an overloaded printer. That's why the brilliant idea you had in the shower disappears before you've even found a towel, and the thing you urgently needed to tell your coworker pops back into your brain 3 hours after they've already gone home. Your brain isn't failing you, it's simply overflowing because you never gave it an external outlet. And if we're honest, this happens to all of us. Think about every time you said you'd remember it later, only to completely forget and then act shocked like your brain betrayed you. Or the times you've replayed the same negative belief in your mind over and over again until it felt like a full-blown truth, even though it started as a quiet whisper. It's like having a playlist you didn't choose stuck on loop, except the playlist is titled All the Things That Stress Me Out, Extended Edition. And let's be real, sometimes the thoughts we forget are not even important, like trying to remember whether we locked the door or not, then staring at the ceiling at 1 a.m. imagining your house being robbed by a confused raccoon. Our minds love chaos, but they're terrible at organizing it. This is why writing things down is one of the most powerful clarity tools humans have. When you put something onto paper, you do something your brain literally cannot do alone. You convert a floating, foggy thought into a clear, concrete object you can examine. Sometimes you'll write something and realize, wait, this idea is actually genius, and it becomes the seed of something life-changing. Other times you write it down and immediately see its absolute nonsense, and throwing it away feels like deleting a useless app that's been draining your battery for months. The moment it's on paper, your brain gets to relax. You free up mental RAM, reduce stress, improve decision-making, and stop wasting energy trying to juggle 17 invisible tasks at once. And here's the simplest way to do it without overthinking. Get a stack of cheap index cards, not a fancy notebook that feels too sacred to mess up, but plain cards you won't be afraid to fill with scribbles, half ideas, and quick reminders. Write down everything: tasks, worries, ideas, things to remember, things to let go. Suddenly your mind becomes a clear dashboard instead of a chaotic storage closet. You start seeing patterns, spotting what matters, and ignoring the noise. Your stress goes down, your productivity goes up, and your brain finally gets to do what it's good at: thinking, not storing. But here's the twist: mental clarity alone isn't enough. You could have the clearest mind in the world, but if your body is stuck in low-power mode, you'll still feel drained, unfocused, and unmotivated. And that leads directly into the next point, the one most people skip, even though it determines how much energy you actually have to use all this clarity. Habit number 3, block out your life. Most people have no idea how little free time they actually have, and here's the mind-blowing part. The average person loses 2 to 5 hours every single day to untracked time, the invisible minutes and hours that slip through cracks so small you don't even realize they're there. We think we're in control of our schedules because our calendars look empty, but that emptiness is a lie. That open space is already claimed by sleep, work, commuting, chores, eating, basic maintenance, and the micro tasks that chew away at your focus like tiny termites. It's like looking at a glass of water and thinking it's half empty, when in reality it's full of ice. You think you have room, but the space is already taken. Calendar blocking forces you to confront that reality. It takes the vague fog of your daily life and turns it into a clear map that shows exactly where your time is actually going. And when you block out sleeping hours, working hours, eating, commuting, cleaning, social obligations, and everything else you never think about, you suddenly realize your free time isn't a mysterious river, it's a tiny puddle you've been stepping over without noticing. And honestly, we've all been there. You look at your day and think, oh yeah, I've got time after work. Then suddenly it's 11 p.m., you've done nothing, and you're confused like you've just been robbed by a ghost. Or you tell yourself you'll finally start that one project later, but later magically turns into doom scrolling, eating something you didn't even want, and wondering why you feel tired even though you didn't do anything. It's basically like your day has a leak and no one gave you a bucket. And the funniest part, if time thieves had a sound, it would probably be the Netflix next episode countdown. 3 seconds. That's all it takes to lose an hour. The application is simple but life-changing. Block everything. Not in an obsessive productivity guru way, but in a let me actually see where my life is going way. Take a digital calendar or a notebook and map out your day. Sleep, meals, work, commute, errands, showering, downtime, family time, everything. What's left will shock you, but the magic is what comes next. You decide exactly how to use the time you do have. Instead of wandering into your evening hoping motivation will appear, it won't. You assign those open blocks to what matters: reading, working on your side project, going to the gym, calling someone you love, or simply resting intentionally instead of accidentally. You stop hoping for time and start creating it. This is where the big picture transformation happens. Calendar blocking isn't about stuffing every second with productivity. It's about understanding the flow of your energy and using it wisely. When you see your life mapped mapped out, you start spotting energy leaks, those 3-hour tasks you hate, the routines that drain you, the responsibilities you could delegate or automate. You also see where your priorities don't match your behavior. You claim something matters to you, yet somehow it has zero time assigned to it. Suddenly, the lack of progress makes painful, perfect sense. Managing your energy, not just your hours, becomes the real advantage because time just passes, but energy is what determines what you actually do with that time. But here's the twist, and it's a big one. Even the most perfectly organized schedule collapses if you're trying to do everything alone. Habit number 4, decide what winning looks like. Most people don't realize this, but the average person spends 41% of their day on low-value tasks, things that feel productive but don't actually move their life forward. And here's the shocking twist. Most of that wasted time happens because people wake up with no idea what actually matters that day. They just open their eyes and immediately start reacting: emails, texts, notifications, other people's problems, like the human version of a fire alarm. It's no wonder so many days end with that weird, sinking feeling of "I was busy all day, but did nothing that actually mattered." A win list flips that entire dynamic on its head. It transforms your day from chaos-driven to intention-driven by forcing you to answer one deceptively powerful question before the day even starts: what would make tomorrow a win? And choosing just 1 to 3 things isn't random, it's neuroscience. Your brain can only hold a few high-priority targets at once, and narrowing them down drastically increases follow-through, clarity, and emotional momentum. We've all lived the reactive version of this. You go to bed thinking tomorrow is the day, and then tomorrow shows up like, actually, no, it's not. Suddenly you're answering messages, helping someone solve a crisis that wasn't even yours, scrolling for a minute that turns into 40, and by the time you look up, the sun has clocked out, and so have you. And you sit there like, what did I even do today? It's the adult equivalent of going into a room and forgetting why you went in, except the room is your entire life. And let's be honest, sometimes your list of things to do is so long it looks like it was written by someone who hates you. No human being is completing 57 tasks in a day unless they're powered by caffeine, adrenaline, and questionable life choices. That's why the win list is simple: 3 things max. Write them the night before when your brain is calm, not when you're waking up mid-scroll in a dopamine fog. Maybe your win is finishing a section of a project, hitting the gym, calling someone you care about, cleaning one area of your home, or making one important decision you've been avoiding. The power is in choosing, not hoping you'll find time for it tomorrow. Once it's written, your brain shifts. You start the day knowing exactly what matters and cut through distractions because the target is already locked in. And here's where the real magic happens. At the end of the day, you don't judge yourself by how busy you were. You judge by whether you hit your wins. If yes, you won. If not, you know exactly why. There's no vague guilt, no drowning in half-finished tasks, no wondering where the hours went. You become the kind of person who sets small goals and actually completes them. And that feeling, that quiet confidence of keeping promises to yourself, starts stacking. One day of winning turns into a week turns into a month turns into a completely different life because consistent small wins compound faster than any burst of motivation ever will. So here's the big picture: everything you've been struggling with, feeling scattered, overwhelmed, unmotivated, or stuck in the same cycles, you now have the tools to break out of it. These habits aren't magic, and they're not meant for special people living unrealistic Pinterest lives. They work because they attack the exact pain points that were pulling you down at the start. Losing your mornings to chaos, drowning in mental clutter, leaking time you didn't know you were losing, and ending your days feeling like nothing you did really mattered. Now you know how to flip all of that. You know how to start your day on your terms, clear your mind on command, take back your energy, protect your time, ask for help, and define what winning actually looks like before the day even begins, without trying to overhaul your whole life overnight. And the truth is, these habits work even if you don't execute them perfectly. You just need to start with 1 or 2, let them settle in, let them become part of your identity. Because thriving isn't about giant breakthroughs, it's about small, boring, consistent actions that stack over time. It's the stuff almost no one does consistently, which is exactly why it works so well. And yes, sometimes you'll mess up and accidentally fall into a 3-hour scroll hole. That's fine. Life is pretty much a series of oops, didn't mean to do that